I think reading the reading the racial identity development theory, I think that it just showed me that I have pretty much evolved through all the steps. I think, well, let me answer what informed my racial identity first, or my racial identity development. And I would say that it was going to the army. And that's also how I understood more about what was happening with my race. When I was growing up, there wasn't a lot of racial issues for me because I grew up in a place that had a lot of races altogether. There wasn't, like, you could know that people were different, but it felt okay because everybody was still sort of the same. There wasn't really a big difference. Um, I think when I went to the army, that's when it changed because for the first time, I felt like an actual minority. Like I was one black person out of like 120 white people. Um, and that's also how I first really identified with my racial self, because that's just when I realized that the experience that I had in my life, how my family grew up, how my family is just wasn't the same as everybody else's. So I couldn't relate to them, and they couldn't relate to me on that aspect, really. Um, it's also the first time I experienced institutional racism, and I think that the army is just a really good example of it on a micro scale, because they actually have rules in place that you can look at and see how it might be racially charged and is baked into the system. For instance, haircuts and shaving. There aren't that many haircuts that you can get in the army that are in regulation. But if you take the same rules, if you take the army haircut regulations and you give that haircut to a person of color soldier, in this instance, I would say anybody that doesn't have straight hair. So if it's curly, so it doesn't always have to be race, but I know that majority of black people are gonna have coily hair and not straight. But if you take the same exact standard and give it to a black person, and then you give that same haircut to a white person, it's gonna look different, and it's probably gonna look way better on the white person than it does the black person. So the only real option that you can get, because it's always something that's going to be in regulation, is to just get your hair shaved low. Like that's literally the best bet. Because if you have 3 inches of coily hair and you have 3 inches of straight hair, it's not going to look the same. And in the army, they're probably still going to tell you that you're not in regulations if you have 3 inches of coily hair. That's my experience, and that's how other people that I was with, that's our experience in the army with hair regulation. There's no real way to explain it besides that when the army was made, it wasn't made for black people. So they just didn't think of us in the rules. The rules that they have in there, they aren't thinking of a person of color. Shaving rules, shaving with a razor till it's clean shaven. I'm gonna get bumps every time because my hair curls back into my face and it gives me razor bumps. That's not something that is thought about when they were making the shaving rules. So it's just something that you kind of have to deal with. And some people can understand how it's like racism, and some people can, and you kind of just have to like move past. Bless you. Thank you. Um, when I experienced this, I was at the end of adolescence. I was like 19, and I think the main thing that it made for me is take more pride in being black. Like, I wanted to give those accomplishments that I got for myself to black people in general because of stereotypes. Like, I wasn't even really aware that people felt, because I don't really fit the stereotypes of black people, and I never have. So when people are like looking at me, or looking at me different, or thinking I'm gonna react a certain way, or I can tell people are like being condescending and I haven't like even spoken to them yet. And then it's like I just felt the need to prove people wrong. So with everything, I just kind of wanted to give it back to black people more than I even wanted to just do it for myself. Like, oh, I'm getting this high difficulty job in the Army because there's not a lot of black people doing it, and I don't believe that they think that I could do it. And that's how I really reacted. One action to challenge power, I always think that the best action is boycotting. Boycotting things works. If you boycott going to the Army, it works. At my school, University of Missouri, they boycotted the school because the president of the school didn't condemn a racist act. Boycotting works, and they lost their jobs, and they got a new one in, and things changed a little bit. But I just think that just removal, like if you don't feel accepted, if they don't want to accept you, then remove your presence. That just works to me. I think that I handle racism very well, just because I understand that it's ignorance for the most part. And I just believe myself to be equipped to handle hard things. And I don't let other people's opinion get to me. It really just gives me more will to accomplish more. That's all racism does to me. I just want to defy it. And I think I've always been like that. So I don't think I would really respond differently to anything, because I can take it anywhere. I can handle it with aggressiveness if it's racial aggression, and I can be calm if it's rooted in just ignorance. I just kind of understand. I don't know, and I've always pretty much understood that felon is not responding incorrectly, and felon does more harm than responding correctly and passing, whichever the correct way is and whatever the incorrect way is for that specific scenario.